If you love the taste of rum when drinking it neat, then this cocktail is definitely one for you. Old Fashions are traditionally thought of as kind of whiskey cocktails. They're made with your favourite kind of bourbon or rye. But for us rum lovers, the Rum Old Fashioned, it knocks spots off the whiskey Old Fashioned. Now, to make a Rum Fashioned is an absolute doddle. First off, you take your mixing glass, or you could use the cocktail, the Boston Shaker or something like that. You take 2 ounces of a decent rum, one of your favourite rums. So 2 ounces, 60ml, or if you're UK, you could go 50ml. To that, we then add a touch of sugar. Remember, we don't need that much sugar. Rum is a lot sweeter than whiskey and things like that. So traditionally, we would go maximum of 10ml, maybe, but I'm going to do 7.5ml of just normal sugar for this. So 7.5ml. And then the final ingredient is your bitters. These are just Angostura bitters. I'm going to talk about bitters a bit more in a second. But to this, I'm just going to add 2 dashes of bitters. We then take some ice, some proper ice, throw that in, take your long bar spoon, whichever end you want to use. I always use the teardrop end for stirring drinks, but whichever end, and we just stir to get the required dilution for your personal palate. Whether that's 90 seconds, which more than likely is for me, whether that's 20 seconds, whatever, it doesn't matter. It's just about the perfect dilution for you. So I typically go for about 90 seconds. I typically double the amount of liquid in there, so that ice adds that dilution. Then once done, you take your favourite rocks glass, whiskey glass, tumbler, whatever you want to call it. Plenty of ice in there. If you fancy, I haven't got them out, but if you fancy, you could have a nice big ball of ice or a big chunk of ice if you've got those ice cubes at home. But then we just simply strain. And then garnish-wise, we take an orange. And I like to use a peeler for this. We take a little bit of orange. We get a little bit of the pith in there as well. Peel it so it's over the top. So any oils you do get will go over the top of your cocktail straight away. Just pop that in there. You can express the oils if you want to. Just simply do that over the top. And then the final bit, because it's an old fashioned, the final bit is any excuse to get the old maraschino cherries out. Just a maraschino cherry just in there. And that is a proper banging rum old fashioned. A little bit of sweetness just kind of elevates flavours, adds a touch of fun to the drink. It's gorgeous. If you like your neat sipping rums, this is the perfect cocktail for you. So now let's dissect this rum old fashioned a little bit for you. Let's give you some variations, some ideas for you to take this and have some fun riffs and twists, especially if you're at home, but even better if you run a pub or a bar and you kind of want to add some little twists to your cocktail menus. Now, as always, I've got homework in the video. I want to hear from you guys. So in the comments below, I want to hear what rum you would kind of pick out for a rum old fashioned. What would be your go-to rum? And then after you've listened to these variations and little different directions that I'm going to take you on, I want you to dive into the comments and let me know what fun riffs and twists you would come up with. What would be your favourite? So let me know in the comments below. But first off, let's attack the rum. Does the rum have to be a really decent aged rum for a rum old fashioned? Let's be brutally honest, no, because the sugar and the bitters that you kind of add to it are going to enhance the flavour of even your least favourite rums. I mean, I've just picked out 5 of my, but these are all pretty much my favourites behind me, but I've just picked out 5 that I know are going to make banging rum fashions. They really are. So you could go in this direction. But let's be honest, is it going to work for Havana 3-year-old? Yeah, of course it will. Will it work for Bacardi? You know, it's up to you. Bacardi 4-year-old, definitely. Bacardi 8-year-old, definitely. But anything like that, even your Havanas, where is it? Havana Club, Havana 7-year-old, they're going to work. So try it with different rums. Try it with light rums, try it with dark rums, try it with your aged rums, okay? And then you might surprise yourself. You might find that actually you found a new way to drink some of your least favourite rums. Now let's dive down the sugar rabbit hole as well, because I obviously used plain sugar, cane sugar, gone, whatever you've got, I use that. I haven't got any made up here. You could also use Demerara sugar, of course you can, or dark brown sugar, whatever. But then you've got some of the bought flavours that I've got here. I've got horchata syrup, cinnamon syrup, muscovado, honey. You know, let your imaginations run wild. You don't need to add 25 ml because, as I said, you know, your rum is kind of sweet, but just those little sort of 5, 7.5, maybe 10 ml in some cases of this. Can you imagine like a little bit of orgeat in there with your favourite kind of rum? It's just going to be amazing. And then the other flavour I completely forgot about is vanilla as well. Of course, vanilla's going to work. You could kind of make maybe a little even mix of vanilla and cinnamon. You've got your own kind of, you know, a spiced rum to your own kind of effect then using sugar syrup. So don't forget vanilla. And then we get on to the third component of the cocktail, which is the bitters. Now, I'm sure some of you have seen my bitters collection here. I've got nearly 40 or maybe just over 40 of the obvious ones at the front. I've got Angostura there. I've got my pineapple and star anise, Herbistora, a kind of mix of aromatic bitters and like an anise or what's the word I'm looking for, like Pernod, effectively Pernod absinthe. We've got my tiki bitters, which are one of these bottles, maybe that bottle that's just decanted in there. And then we've got all kinds of things. I've got almond bitters here. I'm sure there's like hibiscus bitters. I'm looking for cinnamon, maybe cinnamon coffee bitters. There, you can let your imaginations run wild with bitters. Now, as I'm a man that loves to give you inspiration, I've quickly knocked up 5 to tantalize your taste buds. I've used Ron Santiago de Cuba, 11-year-old rum in all of them. But then first up, I've got Muscovado, so Monin Muscovado sugar syrup, and some cinnamon bitters. So Muscovado and cinnamon. And that is lovely if you love Muscovado sugar. It's got that different level of kind of sweetness coming through. That's a really different rum fashioned, but a really, really good one. You do get subtle hints of the cinnamon notes coming through. Next up, I've gone for double almond. I've gone for some orgeat syrup and toasted almond bitters. You can tell that puts a smile on my face. I'm a big marzipan fan. And that is just amazing. Kind of just that rum and almond, double almonds coming through. That is glorious. I love that. I could drink that. Maybe a bit too sweet for not. Like I could have like plain ones. I could have like 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe there. I'm talking these two so far. Maybe just one, you know, just to kind of flip the palate up slightly. Anyway, next up, I've gone for honey and my tiki bitters. So the tiki bitters has got cinnamon and allspice in them, but the syrup is honey. For me, that's on par with that one. That is something I could happily settle down to all night. Not overly sweet. I love honey anyway, but honey just comes through there, brilliantly balances those kind of tiki notes, those almond allspice kind of flavours. That is glorious. I love that. Right, next up, I just quickly did a bit of Demerara sugar. I've just knocked up a bit of Demerara. So I've got Demerara and my pineapple and star anise bitters. This is another one that I could happily settle down to all night, especially in the winter around a fire in like a pub or a bar, nice and cosy. I love the pineapple and star anise bitters in there, but the Demerara sugar, it's just kind of adding not too much flavour, just a subtle difference of flavour, of sort of sweetness coming through from the rum. That is amazing. And then as I forgot it, and I didn't even list it down there in front of me, I've kind of changed it. I've gone for vanilla, but I've gone for chocolate bitters as well. So vanilla sugar syrup and chocolate bitters. And that is flipping amazing. Again, those three, happily the last three. So the honey and tiki, the Demerara and pineapple and star anise, and then the vanilla and chocolate. I could happily sort of sit there and demolish those in a night. These two are amazing, fun riffs, but perhaps limited to maybe 1 or 2. But there we go. So comments below, I want to know kind of what flavour combinations, what rum would you use and what flavour combos would you use for your syrups and your bitters. Let me know in the comments below. And then coming up in the next video, I'm attacking the rum sour.